Morten from Burning Bridges, and I'm sitting here with Stuart and Will. Um, just a quick introduction to the channel first. Burning Bridges is a channel where we talk about Flames of War, first of all, and also the events that are around Flames of War. And the reason I've invited Stuart and Will from Three Colors Painted is because they are traveling sometimes the world and mostly England to play Flames of War in a bit of a different manner than the competitive scene usually sees. But why don't you introduce yourself, Stuart and Will?
I'll go first.
You go first.
So I'm Stuart. I've been playing Flames of War on and off, playing for for 5 years now. I started collecting an army back in version 3. I had a Panzer Brigade 150 list and a Soviet Sturmovie built as free poles. They never hit the table, but I have reused a lot of the poles. And then got back into it right at the end of version 3. So version 4 was out for mid-war, but they were still using version 3 for late war, and I built a Polish home army list, which I think says everything you need to know about the level of competitiveness we're going to talk about. And then got into Team Yankee, and then got sort of back into Flames of War. And the big project at the moment is Battle of Berlin type units.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I started Flames of War kind of about 4 years ago. 2020, I think one of the first kind of major events was Warfare of that year. And again, and Stuart was actually the one that introduced me to Flames of War specifically. Before then, I did Warhammer. I still do, various other war games as well. And Flames of War was kind of on the radar, years ago, probably 2015, 2016. But at the time, I chose Bolt Action at the time, just because I was like, oh, bigger models, they're really cool, And it just never really. That was genuinely the reason, the bigger scale. I just like the idea of them. But yeah, kind of meeting Stuart, finding out he really liked wargaming. I was like, oh, you know what? I think I've done enough Warhammer. Let's try the smaller scale, and yeah, and it's from there. That's pretty much been all I've been doing now. Everything else has been sidetracked. I'm doing odds and ends for other projects as well, but yeah, mostly Flames of War. That started out with an Italy-British list, so I converted up some allied Italians and things like that, and I've kind of stuck with the same thing the whole time. I've various other armies as well in work in progress, everything pretty much at this point, but mostly the British has been getting all the attention, and yeah, just kind of worked from there the whole time, collecting bits and bobs, all Italian front personally, with a few Berlin Soviets, but most of our Berlin project that we're working on together is I'm doing terrain and Stuart's doing other models, so yeah.
Nice. So you're not that far into the hobby, it seems, right? It seems that 5 years, that's short compared to the rest of the Flames of War gang that have been around for 20 years.
Oh, definitely,
I guess.
I think.
Yeah, but I probably couldn't attend a tournament 20 years ago.
Yeah.
We're not that old.
That is the thing, yeah.
Touche. So what kind of events have you participated in general?
So, like Will said, the first event we went to was Warfare 2020. It was the unofficial UK Nationals, because it was about the only thing that happened that year because of COVID. I took 60 stands of Polish Rifle Battalion and got annihilated every one of my games because we had not played competitively at all. At the time, we were the only two people at our club who did Flames of War, so I sort of thought, oh, this is going to be alright, and then absolutely died for a weekend. But, crucially, we met Soren, and were chatting with him over one of the really expensive lunches there one day, and then a few months later, he said to us, oh, you guys like the historical side of Flames of War? There's an event that I think you'd really enjoy. Everyone's got to bring a historical list. It's got to be really accurate. It's got rules for like special rules for terrain. And we said, oh yeah, this is really, really good. And then right at the end, he said, it's in Denmark.
Yeah, he waited at the end to tell us that.
Yeah. So that is how we then ended up coming to ClaysCon Blitzkrieg Ohne Benzin, which was fantastically good fun. We must have played some other events between the two of them.
I don't know if we did really, because kind of when we first started, we didn't. I don't know if we just didn't really feel confident to attend events. Obviously, in hindsight, we do events because it's a great way of learning. But I think initially we didn't do that many. We always planned to do, quite a few in that first year, and we just kind of didn't really get around to it. We played a lot against each other. Was our most, was what we mostly did. Same with Team Yankee. That's all we really did was fight each other, which is kind of why I guess we got used to each other's armies, which is why we didn't really get used to anything else before we did events. But I think it was probably a good year or so, or nearly a year, until we, I think, really got into it. And
we did some Team Yankee events though. There was a guy locally who was really keen on Team Yankee.
Yes, yeah, we did Team Yankee, a lot of local events. Yeah, but in terms of Flames of War, I think we just did Warfare, and then I think the next one might have then been possibly Warfare the year after. I think.
Okay. I still didn't know that Blitzkrieg was your second big event.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's pretty cool that you traveled
I think it must have been.
to Denmark.
Go big or go home.
Okay, yeah, that's nice. And now you have been joining up on different tournaments I've seen on your Instagram, of course, and you're doing better and better. I think you won something, right, Will? Almost?
Yeah. Well, yesterday I won our local league, and then the last Fortress Europe event, that was quite funny. I think I won won the tournament best painted, and then Stuart got second, I think, and then
most units. So we took all of the silverware between.
That's cool.
Which is quite fun.
Really competitive players now. That's good.
But ironically, still historical lists. So there you go.
Okay, so they can actually be competitive, or maybe it's the players behind them.
Well, I think it's all gambling, isn't it, I suppose?
Okay. Cool. So now you've been to both two of my events in Denmark, of course, and also Warfare a couple of times. So what do you enjoy about these events? There's a big difference in a big competitive singles tournament compared to riding in snow and not having any gasoline to drive your tanks.
I didn't really have to worry about the gasoline when we did Blitzkrieg Ohne Benzin because I had 12th Volksgrenadier Division. So you said this is all about dashing tanks through Belgium and capturing fuel, but we need someone to bring Volksgrenadiers. So I brought Volksgrenadiers and subsequently didn't have to really worry about the terrain or the fuel. And because of the team element, I was always being used to beat off counter-attacks. So I spent a lot of time defending on this thing that was all about attacking, and somehow it worked with me. I am more of a defensive player than an offensive player. Soren gave me really good matchups as the guy in charge of our Panzer army, and sort of more by luck than anything else, I won the first time we went to Denmark. But yeah, the secret to that was you don't have to worry about fuel if you only bring 3 tanks.
True.
Yeah, you only brought the Stugs, didn't you?
Yeah, Stug 4s.
Whereas I was the opposite. I think I had all the fuel off Stuart because I think it was 12 Panthers?
Yeah.
Or something like that was my list, which then almost immediately died in the first game, which was quite funny. But it was very fun for that first game. Go big or go home. And they definitely went big.
Yes, I think we have some pictures somewhere of how much fuel you used in the game and how much fuel you captured, and it was you used sort of 4 or 5 times as much fuel as you have captured.
Yeah, it was good fun though.
Which is pretty historic. That was really good. So, like I said, the team element of that was really, really good. Because we were allowed to share fuel. So like Will said, he took fuel from me because I had absolutely no need of it. and it meant that me having to attack American tanks with my Volksgrenadiers was never going to work. But having to sit in foxholes and just not even necessarily win, but like just not lose badly, meant that as a team we could still achieve all of our objectives was really, really good.
And that's because we played on a map, right?
Yes.
And we tried to move armies across the Bulge.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it was the same for this year for Narva. I don't think did either of us even win a game.
No, I don't think no.
I don't think
We're
either
pretty
of us
sure we
won
lost
a game.
everything. Yeah.
But our team won, and for that we will take the victory.
Because we were running pure infantry. I mean, I think we had a single vehicle between us. I think I might have had I had IL-2, but I think other than that it was just sailors. Was my whole list. They can't bring a lot.
Yeah, I think again I just had a rifle battalion. I think I had some firestorm units at one point that were armoured.
I was given a unit of 9 Maxims and then another unit of 6 Maxims was my firestorm. That was interesting.
Yeah. We played Narva in 23, where you played infantry, right? Because that was basically what that was there. And then
Realistically, yeah. So as you've said about historical, the battles you chose, we were able to go really, really deep. So for the first one, I was able to find some really detailed orders of battle. So my force was pretty much the Vorausabteilung of 12th Volksgrenadier Division. They grouped together the handful of Stug 4s they had, their Pack 40s, and a couple of platoons of Pioneers, and that was their sort of forward detachment to plunge through the Ardennes. Turns out it's a really, really good force. Because actually, Volksgrenadiers that aren't reluctant and are hit on 4s are actually really solid. You could just do with a few more of them if you wanted to attack, but for defending they're all right. We struggled a little bit more with Narva. The Soviet records aren't quite as good, but basically we found the Soviets threw huge numbers of men at some rivers and the occasional tank, so that's what we did.
Yeah, that was the general tactic of the sailors. The thing is, it made it really fun because you kind of knew you were going to win. Like, it's not a valid tactic, but it makes it very entertaining. Just throwing an entire army's worth of infantry as far forward as possible and see what they can go. Really, it was good. Definitely makes a change.
Yeah. So there's a different approach to how you make lists, I guess, because Stuart has been talking about his Volkssturm list on the UK Nationals now.
Yes.
And is that the same approach, or is it a mix, maybe?
So I would say historical gaming is kind of a couple of different levels. So you've got the really niche, like I said about the 12th Volksgrenadier Division, when you can find the actual grouping of stuff. And then right at the other end of the scale, you've got, well, all of the things existed. And then kind of in the middle, you've got, is this a plausible grouping of stuff? So if you were going to do mid-war and you were going to do Italians, what they had on the Eastern Front was very different to what they had on the Western Front, and Flames of War in its current iteration will allow you to mix them. So choosing to limit yourself to not mix them is quite historical, but isn't necessarily a good idea if you want to win. But it depends what you're looking to achieve from the game. I enjoy it as a game. Winning would be nice. I'd like to do better than last year at this year's Nationals because, once again, last year I had 4 vehicles and attacked with Fallschirmjäger in mid-war. I got to the objectives in most games, but I got annihilated in most games. So across 5 games, I think I scored 7 points, 7 victory points across 5 games.
Yeah, I remember cheering you on.
Yeah, for a solid last place, but it was still a good event. I prefer late war, so I'm aiming to do better this year. I think there's about 44 players. I would like to get top 20, but I'm not sure how achievable that's going to be.
Yeah.
I think my list is pretty solid, but ask me again on the Saturday night and I will reassess.
Yeah, definitely keep us updated.
I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll go well.
So, as the conversation we were having earlier, the theme is I've got nearly 40 stands of infantry again. I've got 6 tanks this time, so we're going up in the world in terms of how many vehicles.
Nice.
It's one thing or another, isn't it? It's either your classic list is either loads of infantry, or there was the one time it was the Nationals, wasn't it? When you brought, was it 11 IS2s?
Yeah, I took 11 IS2s and the minimum strength engineer sapper company, and then just to make the reserves work, I gave one of my IS2 platoons unditching logs, just to make them exactly 40%. That was a force that would either win a game in 3 turns or lose. So it's kind of ideal for the Nationals. I don't want to be dragging out games to a draw. I think looking at the lists that are released, I think some people are looking to not lose, but I would much prefer to either win or lose.
But again, and that list goes back to kind of our normal method of operation. I mean, because all those IS2s, as is shown on Instagram, they're all perfectly modelled. Every single one of them, because it was what was there, and that's kind of again, it goes back to the kind of how we like to do our list, I suppose, was, got to do the IS2s because that's what they had,
Yes.
and it was I guess it was a nice modelling opportunity, wasn't it?
Yes, so I in terms of modelling, I've come into wargaming from the scale modelling side. So my IS2s, I shaved all the handles off, I textured the turrets with liquid green stuff, and then I hand bent 11 brass handles per tank. So I took 121 brass handles to the Nationals. That's a hell of a claim, and it didn't do very well. But that's exactly the thing. So because I've come in more from a modelling side, my army will always be relatively thematic. So as I was saying before we started, one of my Volksturm platoons for the Nationals are actually modelled as Berlin Police. I found a company that makes shakos in 15mm. So I found some early war Germans, did a little bit of converting, and I have one of my platoons will be policemen that will get shot to pieces by Shermans and half-tracks, I would imagine.
But they'll look good doing it.
Yeah.
And that's half the battle.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. So one of my other questions is, of course, class gun, the next one. And I think you have talked a bit about it before, but what do you like about it? You're coming to Denmark for the 3rd time now, and you mentioned it's cheap. I don't think we got that on the record.
It is cheap. It is cheaper to go and fly and have a fantastic weekend with Morton and some other Danes than it is to go to some events in the UK, including travel and staying. So, just cheap gaming is the first one, but the experience of GlazeCon is very, very different to any event we've had in the UK. So we tried to recreate it a little bit. We did a historical single-day 3-game for Les Pocket event. I shamelessly ripped off lots of your ideas. And it was good. I'm not sure what was missing, but it wasn't quite as good as Glaze.
It was probably all the shots the night before I think I was missing.
That's
True.
true. Yeah.
So I just heard from Scott Palmer in Ireland that they also did a fillet pocket event, actually stolen from me, of course. So is this a thing you're missing in the scene in the UK?
It's kind of hard to say, I guess. I mean, I want to say yeah. It seems like a lot of events they're still competitive, but they're it might be themed on something. I mean, for instance, we did the Fortress Europe event, and obviously only take Fortress Europe things, but it wasn't at that point then broken into different aspects of the war at that point. It was still just just use Fortress Europe. Obviously, it allowed for different armies and to fight different things, but there wasn't a historical thing there. And I think a lot of events are like that. There's very few fully thematic events, and it seems that it could possibly be down to the sheer variety of what people own. Especially our local club that we play at, and everyone's got just such a crazy amount of stuff, but they're all very focused on one thing. So when as soon as you try and do a historical game, it's kind of our thing with Berlin. We're having to do all of the stuff for it, all the terrain, all the models, and then essentially give them to other people in order to make sure they're really good. But then also that could be down to us being really, really, really we need it to be perfect, whereas someone, it's just a Soviet rifle company. It's like, actually, no, but it's not the correct one. And that's the thing. But yeah, I think certainly with a lot of events, it does seem, I'm sure they're around, but yeah, in terms of a general thing that isn't kind of invitation only, there's not very many pure historical things here.
No. So even if you look at Warfare this year, Warfare this year is very famously D-Day 80. So you've got 80 points from the D-Day books, the Normandy compilation.
Yeah, that's
But
clever.
I would expect that a decent proportion of people are probably still coming to that with the aim of, okay, so that's the limits, but I still want to win.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone is particularly approaching ClaysCon with, I want to win, which I think is probably the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is, we wanted to win as a team, but I don't think anyone particularly wanted to win, at all costs. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you go there for the experience, for how much fun it is. I mean, and how nice everyone is and things like that. I mean, the whole event is just fantastic. Like, everyone's just lovely. You just chat forever. It's just nice. The whole vibe, the whole atmosphere is fantastic, and the fact that you're staying over there, so it just goes the whole day. You're really immersed in it. It's just really nice,
Yeah, I think was it this year or last year when I think we did awards at about 1 o'clock in the morning because someone had just finished Game 3 that was really crucial for whether or not one side took a particular bridge, and that finished a sort of 1:45. So we did awards at 1 o'clock in the morning, which is, there's a bit of a thing in the UK at the moment about slow play and whether chess clocks are the way forward. But if it's thematic and it matters and you're all there, you just let it finish.
Yeah, exactly.
It's completely different.
Yeah, because the thing is, at that point, half the people were, one corner just chatting away, just drinking, and obviously the people who were playing were playing, and it was really nice in that regard. Whereas I guess if it was a normal event, everyone would be just like, oh, come on,
Yeah,
it wasn't really
I've
up to
got
do.
to go. Yeah.
But there, it's just like, just how it is,
Yeah, it seems like there's a connection between the goal of the event. So the goal for most tournaments is to win, of course, because it's a tournament, it's a competition, and that will affect your list building. You will go away from, Fallschirmjäger lists to something that might actually work, for example. But I love the fact that by having an event where it doesn't matter if you win, it matters a little bit for the team more than maybe for yourself. It makes it easier to have fun with a list that you don't really would ever use, right? That's what you said. People have loads of models, but they just focus on the drillings and the half tracks because they are the ones that are working right now. Yeah,
100%, and it really allows for some stuff. I mean, I guess it's a semi-bad example because I was kind of going to do this anyway. But for instance, this event is going to be fantastic because I've for years loved the idea of doing just an obscene amount of British paras anyway. I was like, this is a great example, but typically you probably wouldn't do that. But it gives a really good excuse to be like, I am going to paint just British paras, or just one really specific unit that you probably wouldn't do an entire army of. Maybe you might do a single platoon, maybe 2 platoons of this unit, but no, I'm literally painting, because I'm doing mine and Stuart's armies. I'm doing, I think, 2 companies. Technically 1 company, 2 glider pilot units, an engineer unit. Jeeps, just the whole shebang. All the guns, 2 6-pounder units, 2 75s, a 17-pounder, everything. And it gives a good excuse to be like, and it's going to be used. It's not just going to sit there, as an extra thing. I can't obviously vouch for that after the event. It'll probably sit in the cabinet looking nice, but at least it gets used and it's really cool. And it's everything is really thematic. It just adds to it.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. So as we said, it's we'll sell your event for you. It's Arnhem this year.
Yeah.
Or Oosterbeek if we don't make it to Arnhem, of course, which
Yeah.
is possible as we'll be on foot. And I think is another good theme. I've heard a lot of people talk about the Market Garden and say if you play as the Airborne, it's quite good fun, but if you play as 30 core, it's not particularly enjoyable. So the Oosterbeek and Arnhem perimeter should be quite good, he says.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
going to face down some Charby 1 flams.
that's the thing,
and sure,
but that's another benefit, isn't it? Like of this kind of event. You know, obviously they're not in game, but it gives a really nice excuse for them to be modelled and for them to be used. Because at the end of the day, because it's not competitive, it doesn't really matter if they're either really, really good or really bad. Because whatever, we're all having fun. You know, it's just how it is, I guess. You know. So.
Yeah, let's see if you have fun when you meet like 10 flame tanks.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm hoping to get the 17-pounders done, but then only one of us can have that because I've only got enough crew for one unit. So
nice.
we'll have to roll the dice on who gets that.
But that is one of the big things of the team event, is you have to build an army that can kind of not be terrible at everything. That's the other thing. So as we said, my nationals list is built to do one thing. It is built to sit somewhere and not die. If I took that to ClaysCon, it might work one of the games, but if our whole sector is supposed to be attacking, I'm going to have a really bad time. So you have to bring a bit of a can-do-anythings, but you normally give us really low points levels, so you kind of eventually have a list that can't really do much, which is why you then have Firestorm units. So as a front, you'll have some decent anti-tank, or you'll have maybe some tanks, although I doubt it this year because we'll be airborne. And between you can assign them, so you might go, okay, look, if you think you can defend with your 60 points against his 100 points, we'll attack with 120 points against his 100 points, because it's more important that we as a team take the bridge than we all get a win, which is the main thing.
Yeah, I think it's 70 points this year, right? I think I can't even remember anymore.
Yeah.
Since
I
I'm
think
not making lists.
Yes, it was 70, and then I think each game we get less points.
So I think this time we are doing it so you get 70 points, but you lose the units you lose.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yes,
Excellent.
so if you get mowed down, you have to spend resources. So the resources in this campaign in Operation Market Garden is, of course, time. So you can spend time to replenish your list, and then you can continue playing with your full army, but you would have spent time to gather new recruits and whatever.
I'm going to call it now. I'm going to have like 3 guys in game 3.
Oh, that's nice. Just continue like forward.
God, yeah. Well, I mean, our lists are very similar, just because, you know, obviously modelling them as glider pilots, but obviously you can split that up into 3. So it's we've essentially got, you know, just 3 platoons. Both of us have got 75s. Both of us have got 6-pounders. So they're very similar lists. But yeah, it is essentially just, you know, 3 platoons. And I think then Stuart's got an engineer unit with flamethrowers. And I think I put jeeps in mine. But yeah, they're very similar, you know.
Yeah.
So we will see.
Okay, nice. So, Nationals or ClaysCon, what are you looking most forward to?
Oh, it's got to be ClaysCon.
Yes.
100%.
Oh,
It definitely isn't because I'm not actually doing the Nationals this year. That's how much I'm like, I got to do ClaysCon. It is, you know, it goes straight in the diary as soon as that year's done. Puts it in the diary for next year. It's definitely.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's just a great event.
Yeah, and you even had an influence on this year's theme.
Last year we were going, you know what you should do, Morton? You should have Paris, and you should divide it up into zones, and you should be able to cut zones off. Yeah. Yeah, certainly if they were on the same weekend, I would probably choose ClaysCon.
Yes, excellent. So there's the proof that we need more historical events.
100%. It's just, it allows you to paint stuff that, and model stuff that you just wouldn't usually. You know? It's just great. You know, especially if it's something you're really enthused about. You know, a front that's like really interesting that maybe people don't necessarily know about. I mean, like I love the Italian front, and it allows you to definitely change things up to what necessarily would be competitive, but it also allows for really good modelling opportunities. You know. and things like that.
Yeah, see, if we can get Battlefront to push out their Italy book, we could do like Monte Cassino next year.
Yes.
Oh
Yes,
my god, that could be
please.
so cool.
Paratroopers
Could you
against
imagine? Ah.
Indian and Polish rifles.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
It's
Everyone
just
just bring infantry.
just four tables put together in one, mountain thing.
That would
Few
be lovely.
Stugs, quite a lot of 25-pounders, games on.
Yeah.
You do have to really, really like playing infantry lists, I think.
Yeah.
That is a thing.
I think
yeah.
this is sort of probably the absolute optimum audience to try and play Monte Cassino, because I've already got loads of Mediterranean Fallschirmjäger, and Will's got lots of Italy Brits. He's even got some goons. We're ready.
Yeah, the
Nice.
Gumiers. I'm really looking forward to actually using them. I've only ever used them in one event, but they're such cool models.
Okay, cool.
the
Yeah,
amazing
maybe you can
striker models.
convince Jens and I at Clayscon.
Well, we convince you with this year.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
We'll
Do you
see.
have any final remarks, Stuart and Will? Because we're hitting the 30-minute mark.
I think the main thing is you can play whatever you want and still have an enjoyable time. So there'll be people at the Nationals this year who will not have played a huge amount of games, and then there'll be the same people that you see all the time. And I'd like to think they'll both have a good time. But they'd have an even better time if they went to Clayscon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Definitely agree.
Okay. Stuart and Will, thank you for spending time with me and telling about your stories from events in UK and Denmark and what makes an event fun, I guess, and what you look forward to in the events. I'll see you in November, I guess.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes,
Okay.
Fair play. Well, thanks for having us on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Thanks very much.
Take
Norman.
care.
Thank you.
Have a good one.